Emptying out your wardrobe to try and sort all your clothes out is a big job. And what can we be doing that is really small incremental steps, which means you're doing a little bit every week, but being on top of it for maybe 5 or 10 minutes a week means that it saves you, hours down the line. Everyone feels like it's got to be the big thing, and then they get paralyzed and overwhelmed and they don't know where to start. And the thing to do is to just start. So grab a box, walk around each room in the house and just pick up one thing that needs to leave. And then you've started, because that's the hardest thing to do.
Hey there, I'm Kaylin Wood, and this is Money Matters for Moms, the show where busy moms turn overwhelm into abundance. Each week, we'll talk side hustles, saving hacks, wealth tips, and some energy tips to help make it all stick. Real tools for real financial freedom. No ramen required.
Today I'm here with George Tanner. George is a professional organizer who helps women transform their lives by reducing physical clutter. She makes organizing simple and fun because she knows that having a tidy space is good for your brain, your heart, and your bank account. George, I'm so glad you're here.
It's lovely to be with you.
So tell me, do you really think that having an organized home can make that much of a difference in your life?
Absolutely. I think it makes a massive difference. It's not just about money and time. It's also, for me, about all the frustrations. So when you open that drawer and it just catches and it's just irritating, you think about it, but then you just don't do anything. And then there's another little thing that's irritating. And then before you know where you are, someone says something to you. And because you've had all these little things that have irritated you, you just tip over the edge. And I think we're so busy with life that if we can make all those things disappear, just makes life a little bit calmer, a little bit easier. And yeah, then there's all the massive bits to do with time and money. I see so much money that's wasted either through people not being able to find things and having to rebuy things, or just, not making use of what they've got. So I think it makes a huge difference, and it's a really holistic thing for me. It's really about mental health and how you feel.
If you're in that state where the drawer is catching and you can't find the piece of paper that you need for your kid's school, your day gets worse, do you find that the reverse is true?
Yes, houses have a flow, and it depends on how your family use the house. And if you can get that flow right, all of a sudden you're not tripping over bags, you can find everything you need. It just means that your mind is more relaxed and you're ready. And I think when you're dealing with children and all their different schedules and everything that's going on, it doesn't take much to tip you over the edge. And the last thing anybody wants is to be shouting at their kids or losing bits and pieces. It does really make life feel a lot simpler.
So, what happens if you were a tidy person in your house or you would become the tidy person in your house, but everyone else is still on that throwing their stuff everywhere thing?
It's a real journey, I think, to get your family involved, but there are lots of things that you can do to get your family on the journey. And one of the things that I talk about a lot is that responsibility. Women have at least one job when they become a mother. That's definitely one job. Then they might be working. So that's another job. And on top of that, they tend to have full responsibility for everything that goes on in the house and everything that's to do with the children. So they are managing multiple jobs. And one of the things that I've started saying to my clients, and I talk about a lot on social media, is if we can remove those two words, for me, it starts to change your mindset. So instead of saying, could you empty the dishwasher for me? Or could you put your bag away for me? If you just remove those two, it suddenly makes you start to realize that those things are not for you. Those are the things that need to happen to make the house function. And you can start thinking about little things that you can do to encourage your family to get involved and ways that you can get them engaged with the process and make them realize it's going to make their life easier as well. I still find myself doing it now. It's really easy just to say, oh, yeah, could you just grab that thing for me? And it's like, it's not for me. It's not for me. It's for you, or it's for somebody else. It's not for me.
Or it's for the life of the family together.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing with the family, isn't it? Women tend to facilitate life happening and nobody seems to realize. And I think also we have a responsibility to our children as well. I have a son myself. I don't want to be responsible for sending a son out into the world who has an expectation on his future partner that they are going to do things for him. I want him to be the partner that will be cooking dinner and, picking the kids up from school and doing all those things.
And that's especially important now as we're transitioning from those more traditional roles. I mean, it's been in process for 50 years, right? But humans change slowly.
Yes, they do, far too slowly for my liking. Unless I'm a bit of an ardent feminist. But if you are a full-time mom at home with the responsibility of the children and everything else that goes on, that in itself, it's not just one job. It's never ending. It doesn't stop. There's no clocking off. And so I don't see why, even if you don't have what people would say a normal job, if you're not earning or bringing money in, I don't see why your partner and your children shouldn't be helping, because you deserve downtime as well. And then if you do want to earn some money, it becomes even more important that everybody is playing their part.
So I have to ask you, are you a naturally tidy person? You were born this way as a child?
I was made this way by my father, I have to admit. So yes, we grew up in a household where there was a place for everything and everything was in its place. It was always, everybody knew where the scissors went, everybody knew where things went. I mean, of course, there was a time when I was younger where I was untidy. My mum got to the stage where she just used to shut the door on it. That was her solution. If you don't tidy your room, I'm going to close the door and you can live in it. But also, I think there was partly that. And then there was partly I had a constant need to reinvent and reorganize my environment. And that doesn't come from my mum or my dad. So I would be that child always emptying out cupboards and moving bits of furniture around and trying to work out how I would like the room best. So yes, it's something that's sort of inherent in me. And it's funny when I go to see clients, people say to me, there's no space in here, there's no room in here. And as soon as I walk in, I can see the possibilities and know how to do it. So yeah, I think it's just, it must be my superpower.
It sounds like it. Did you always know that you wanted to become a professional organizer?
Absolutely not. And I think this is where there's a massive difference in the UK to the US. I think in the US, it's an industry which has been thriving for a long, long time. And I would say in the UK, it's become really popular in the past few years. I think I always knew I wanted to do something that was organisation, but I went off into project management and operational management and went down that road. And it wasn't until 5 years ago when I decided that I didn't want to work in the IT industry anymore that I sat back and thought, what am I going to do? And I spoke to a friend about the possibility of doing this. And she said, don't be ridiculous. People won't pay for that. And I said, okay. And then shuffled off and sat down. I thought, well, what am I going to do now? And literally a week later, she said, I was chatting to a friend the other day and she's really struggling at home and she wondered if you might go and help her. And so I said, okay, let's go try it out, see what happens. And then it's just gone from there. And I would say now in the UK, it's become more popular. People understand it as an industry.
So you have this as a superpower, but why is it that so many other people need to have that help to be able to declutter and organize?
I think it's the busyness of life. What was interesting for me in COVID, everyone had jam schedules. They're running kids from here to there. They're working, they're cooking dinner, they're doing all these things. And then when they get a bit of time to themselves, they're so exhausted and they have no energy. And even if they did have some, the last thing they want to do is to start turfing out the kitchen cupboards. They want to go and meet friends or they want to go somewhere with their children. So it just gets pushed to the bottom of the list, but it causes problems. And then I think during COVID, everybody sat back and said, oh, it's ridiculous how much we're doing and let's all embrace this not doing much. And I think now we're worse than we were before. Everybody is cramming stuff in. Everybody I work with, whether it's online or in person, they are running from here to there. And they're the bottom of the list. What they need and what they want is always at the bottom of the list. So they are just constantly fighting fire. And they're exhausted, frankly, and they just need the help.
Which makes sense. And I think you're absolutely right about people being more busy now than they were before because we all developed this online world and then we added the real physical world back in.
Yeah, exactly. And then it was like, oh my God, how do we do it all? And we still keep doing it, don't we? We don't just sit there and go, actually, I'm not going to do that bit editing anymore. We just go, oh no, I can fit it all in. Women are so terrible at that. They're so terrible at putting themselves first, especially when they've got children.
Right. And this is the key thing. The work that you do is not just organizing and it's not just decluttering. The title of your business is Simplify by George.
Yeah.
So tell me why simplify is important.
It was really important for me when I sat down and worked out what my business was going to be about. There's lots of people who use Declutter or Edit or, names like that as their business name. And for me, it was definitely more than that. I didn't want it to be just, I'm going to take stuff out of your house or I'm going to put it in pretty boxes. For me, it was all about how can I make your life easier? How can I make it so that you feel that life is less stressful. So it was a really important thing for me to be about simplify. And some of the times I wander off into different areas. I talk to clients about how to help them time manage or to do bits and pieces differently. So how do I live better? Not just how do I get stuff out my house, because that's not enough. It's really important that the flow of a house works. And whilst there are some generics that we always live by, I would three organizer would say, make sure your glasses are by your tap and make sure your coffee is by your kettle or your coffee machine. I think for me, when I get in and I talk to clients, I really find out how they use the space and who's using the space and how we can make that space work in the right way for people. So yeah, simplifying is what I want to do. I want to make people's life easier.
So essentially, by making their space neater and more streamlined, what you're really doing is you're giving them a kind of self-care.
Yeah. Yeah. And that will mean that the mental load is dropped. People talk about the mental load and the mother load. And I think there is so much to think about. And what I don't want women to be thinking about is, I must sort out that drawer that's always catching, or I must find that bit of paper that's really important for me to sign and I don't know where it is. I just want that element to be gone. They're still going to have to sign the bit of paper and they're still going to have to organise everybody, but I just want that small element to be removed first so that they can breathe a little bit easier and maybe sit down and have a glass of wine and read a book. Wouldn't that be nice?
And it's also important. It's not just nice, right? I mean, that really does open the space for someone to be able to become more intimate with their bank account, for them to look at opening another stream of income, to do other things that really affect their bottom line.
Yeah, definitely. And financial independence is becoming more and more important for women, I think. And it's also linked to them feeling good about themselves, not just about the money they're earning, but also that they're doing something with their brains, that they're pushing themselves and driving forward. But yeah, the financial independence, I think, is really important for a lot of women nowadays.
100%. And the thing that I think that you capture, which a lot of other organizers don't, is starting small. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Again, I think for me, it's always been really important when I talk about simplifying, it's always been about the smallest of changes that you can make, because emptying out your wardrobe to try and sort all your clothes out is a big job. It takes a whole day and it's really difficult to keep motivated if you're doing that on your own. It's all about how can you break down those big tasks. And because of my project management background, everything about project management was how can I deliver this one thing by doing all these really small, tiny steps that are going to build up to this big thing. So that was what was really important for me when I set out. It was always like, what can we be doing that is really small incremental steps which get you somewhere, which means you're doing a little bit every week. You're not doing, some massive job. But it's also accepting that it's never ending, being organized and having a house that's simple means that you always have to be on top of it. But that being on top of it for maybe 5 or 10 minutes a week means that it saves you, hours down the line. So that's why it's important.
So after you get your house to be simplified and beautiful, then you get to keep it that way. So it's kind of a happy thing to do every day.
Yeah, maintaining is much easier than doing. And also, if you've got everyone involved and you've got all your family members on board, then actually maintaining is a lot easier because they will do it as well.
Brilliant. So if you were meeting somebody for the first time and they asked you, what is your biggest tip for someone with a disorganized house, what would you say?
Just start. The thing that is always really difficult is everyone feels like it's got to be the big thing. It's got to be, everything, and they want the answers and they want to just do it all. And then they get paralyzed and overwhelmed and they don't know where to start. And the thing to do is to just start. So I would always say to someone, grab a box, walk around each room in the house and just pick up one thing that needs to leave, whether it goes to charity or whether it goes to a friend or it needs to be returned somewhere or whether it needs to be thrown away. Just go and pick up one thing in each room, and then you've started, because that's the hardest thing to do.
Right. Especially for people who tend to be perfectionists, they want to find the right thing to do first.
Yeah, that's it. And that's the thing that people will struggle with. They're just like, I just don't know where to start, because they feel like there's a proper place to start, and there isn't. There's just starting. That's it. You've just got to do that. You've just got to start picking up one thing in each room. Or if you're really stuck with that, then walk into the kitchen, open your kitchen drawer, and pick out that utensil. You know, the one that you bought that you thought would be amazing, and you saw it on some show and you were like, oh, yeah, I'm going to get that. That's going to be brilliant. And then you never use it. And then it just sits in your drawer, taking up space. Go and pick that up and throw it away. You've started, and then everything else is much easier.
It's been great talking with you.
Yeah, it's lovely to talk to you as well.
Thanks for tuning in to Money Matters for Moms. I hope today's episode left you inspired to take one little step forward. Check out the resources in the show notes and share this with another mom who's ready to thrive. You've got this, because abundance is easier than you might think.